Welcome back, guys, to another delirious track guide. This is for round number 1 of the Schick Global GT3 Series. The first track up is a Watkins Glen, and just that disclaimer, this is not a setup guide. This is the delirious approach to tackling this track. I'm talking braking points, turning points, where do I apex, and what runoffs I can use. So I am still on the loose setup, but I did put the soft tires on. It took me about 3 to 4 laps to get the hards to work, which just took way too long for me to get into that rhythm and get consistent. Where the softs I could put on, do an outlap, and basically attack it straight away. So let's get into the track guide for Watkins Glen for the Schick Global GT3 Series, proudly supported by Schick, LuxuryTime premium timepieces, Bulldog skincare for men, and nag.co.za. So nice and tight into turn number 11, and just watch the runoff. You can get one wheel over there, but that race director is always watching those track limits. So we stay on the left hand side for turn number 1, and we're looking for the 300 board as well as this little black mark in the middle of the track. And we're braking in a straight line to the 100 board, and this is where I'll start coming off the power, start turning the car in, and start aiming for the apex. But just be careful of the curb, is that you don't want to get too close to it because it will unsettle the car. You'll see here that there is a little bump just there where I had to just do a little bit of a correction, but there's quite a bit of runoff here, and you can see that I was actually quite wide going through the exit on turn number 1, but getting that power down and setting up for turn number 2. So now I would start turning in for turn number 2, and at the end of that curb where we just went past, you see I'm starting to put that input for turn number 3. The key here is to not let that tire squeal happen, because that means you're scrubbing speed and it's going to cost you further down. You want to get as straight as possible as you come out of turn number 3 and set you up for turn number 4. And again, it's just going to be feeding that car in to get the straightest line ready for the bus stop. So the braking point is at the 300 board. Now I'm braking in a straight line up until the 200 board. From there, I already start turning the car in while still on the brakes. What I'm aiming for is this curb. I want to get a lot of my right hand side of the car over this line, which is now going to get me a nice straight line and set myself up for the left-hander within the first phase of the bus stop. So gently feed the car onto the first curb, start setting it up onto the second. I've held 4th gear, but you'll see now is I'm going to be keeping the same input in terms of the steering, just to let that car settle. Now once it's settled, you can see I'm already coming on the gas. I'm now flat as I hit this next inside curb. My intention is to be flat here, but then straighten up that wheel so that I'm now straight lining for the last curb of the bus stop, meaning I was on full acceleration of 3 of those 4 curbs. So just as the grass starts here on the left hand side, this is where I'm going to come off my power. I'm not going to touch the brakes, but my intention is to start feeding the car in because I'm looking out for these 2 points on the track. There is a vehicle on the outside which now becomes my acceleration point, meaning I'm going to get maximum drive from here on down towards the chute. So now that the car is settled, there's my acceleration reference. I now get onto the power and I use the maximum acceleration coming out. Just watch the curb on the outside, there's a bit of a bump there. So turn 6 is quite tricky because there isn't a braking board on the outside, so you're kind of guessing it a bit, but I found that I was looking out for the curb on the left hand side or this lighter patch here on the grass. So trail braking comes into effect here once again, where you're hard on the brakes. I'm changing down into a 3rd gear, but slowly turning the car in, letting that grip stay with me, and then as I get to my apex, you can see it turn in and straight back on the power. Just a quick note, just careful of the curb on the outside. It doesn't really like a car on it. You can use it, but I just found myself staying away from it. So thank you ACC, I learned a huge lesson, is that I was braking way too early here at Watkins Glen. This corner now turns to the right, it goes uphill, which means you can brake a lot later and carry a lot more speed up the hill, but then get onto the power a lot sooner. So braking and turning in at that 100 board, using trail braking to get the car slow down as you're going in, because you remember you're now using this hill to help slow the car down. Once that car is now settled, I'm already applying the power. I'm in 2nd gear, but I short shifted into 3rd. I just felt a little bit more comfortable doing that, but now I'm accelerating, getting great drive out of this corner and setting myself up for turn number 8. So 2 braking reference points for turn number 8, one the 300 board and the other this dark patch on the inside. So I'm braking in a straight line and I'm looking for this dark patch on the outside, because this dark patch is going to be my turning point, which now is going to allow me to get a nice tight inside line here, holding 3rd gear. I did find that sometimes I would go down to 2nd, the car would just snap, so I just felt a little bit more confident holding the 3rd gear. Just be patient when getting that power on. You want to make sure that once that car is settled, you can get that power down and give you a great drive. The curb on the outside, it can take a bit of runoff. Just make sure it is only one wheel, so that if you do take those limits a little bit too far, you will be penalized. So turn 9 has a similar problem to turn 6. No boards on the outside, but you can use this inside curb as a reference, as well as this black mark in the middle. Trail braking into turn 9, letting the car settle. Add that grip to the front. And because of this negative cambers, I generally just try and add a little bit of throttle just to keep the car moving forward. Don't let it roll, because as soon as you come off that power, the rear lets go, and then it generally is a recipe for disaster. So halfway through the radius of this corner, you can apply a maximum throttle and get the maximum drive coming out of this horrible corner, turn number 9. Turn 10 is simple. 100 meter board, dark patch on the track. That is where you're going to come off the power. You're going to turn the car in. Try and go as close to the inside curb as possible. Don't touch it. It will unsettle you. Get back onto that power. Open up the steering wheel. Don't go too wide on the exit here. The track limits there are very, very tight. The final corner, I'm looking for 2 things. I'm going to brake where the grass has that little kink on the outside. But then on the left hand side, that little grass patch is now going to be the place that I want to turn in. I want to feed that car in. I want to aim for the curb on the inside and get my power going through the corner. This is going to allow me to accelerate and get the maximum drive to get this lap exactly as I want it. Then just that final reminder, don't go too wide on the exit. If you get too close to that wall, your lap will be invalidated. Now let's put it all together in one beautiful symphony. Much, guys. I hope this has given you a little bit of an insight into a Watkins Glen and how I would be attacking this track. Don't forget, we are live streaming of Facebook, YouTube and Twitch. All the details will be in the description, and that is for the Schick Global GT3 Series, Monday nights 8 o'clock, and we'll see you around 1 this coming Monday. Until then, keep racing, and thanks for watching. Yos.